Welcome to Tailboard Talk, a fourth shift fitcast. The mission of Tailboard Talk and the fourth shift fitness is to educate and train fire service personnel to increase durability and decrease the potential for injuries and their associated costs. My name is Chris Morella, owner and founder of Fourth Shift Fitness. I'll use my experience as a personal trainer, strength coach, and 15-year veteran of the fire service to deliver tips, tricks, lessons, and information specifically geared towards the health and wellness of firefighters and paramedics. Each episode, you'll leave with immediate deliverables that will improve performance and resilience and keep you in the fight through your career and into retirement. Let's get into it. We talked about that too, how the GHD was a gift from the company. Mm-hmm. How Joe ordered a regular incline back extension. Yeah. And they're like, hey, we're going to upgrade you as a gift because of all your business. And that huge thing got there and they're like, congratulations, you got this. And he's like, thank you.
Thanks.
This thing is 6x6 and nobody knows how to get into it.
I didn't know that. So the 45-degree one that's at Station 7.
Yeah.
That one was supposed to be like a similar version of that. Mm-hmm. I never knew that.
And then because I think those all came from Life Fitness.
Yeah.
And we were we were Station 6 deep in it. Mm-hmm. And then all the step mills or whatever. Yeah. All the treadmills. It was before the bikes. So everything motorized came from them. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, we just had a clearance on these GHDs last week. And he's like, sounds similar. This thing got there and it was not similar at all.
Actually, everything came from them. The cable stacks came from them, and the the racks came from them.
Really?
Yeah. When we redid the rooms, everything was from Life Fitness. So
man,
even though that's hammer strength stuff, right? Our racks are hammer strength, right? Hammer something. They still all came from Life Fitness. Though,
I think so.
From that lady Debbie.
Well, then we talked about how many videos there are of people getting in the GHD with their legs on top of everything, and then leaning back for the sit-up portion of it, and they flip out of it. So I was so they want to get that out of there. You got a regular back extension in there.
Ridiculous one. I know Sports Center always posted. It's like some dude doing a barbell resisted back extension. He's got 225 on it, and he's laboring through it.
Yeah, that guy's a football player for real.
Is he?
And that was part of his sizzle to get picked up by a team to get a pro day or something like that. And I can't remember if he went to whatever football league,
Yeah.
But he went somewhere, and so it was a big deal. But he's all about killing himself to be extreme. It was entertaining, but yeah,
it's not as entertaining as that one guy I know I've sent you. He's does a lot of stuff on a skateboard with stuff in his mouth, and it kills me. It's so stupid, but I'm like, all right, I'll give it to him.
And he calls everything a world record.
Yeah,
it's world record ollie, front squat. There's another guy. I think his Barbell Shrugged or something like that, where he does everything in jeans, and he'll do the I don't know, I can't remember what it's called, where you load up a barbell with back squat weight, and then it's on the ground and you tip it up.
Yeah, I can't remember what that squat's called.
And in all of his descriptions, he's like, do not ever try this. This is not for you. Yeah. This is for me to screw around with. Right. And he's enormous. Yeah. And he pulls it off. Mm-hmm. One of them was an old strongman feat where you snatch a weight or you get a weight overhead. Mm-hmm. And then from overhead position, you drop it and catch it in a Zercher position. Right? And it was 405 or something like that. And he said they're do not ever try this. Yeah. It's not even with 95 go try it. And he did it, but it was agonizing to watch because you just think, first of all, the forearm and crook pain, right? Yeah. But then you see him absorb. It's like an air shot going down. He absorbs it and kind of curls into a shrimp and then comes back up and he turns into that turtle shell looking thing. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. It was awesome, but I can only watch so many of his videos. So I'm like, dude, this is I trust that people won't put out anything catastrophic up. Right. But sometimes they might.
I wish I was strong enough to be that stupid, but
to be
me.
Well, that's the whole thing.
I'm gonna be the one that folds under a 65-pound snatch that hits the back of my neck and
where's the highlight?
Forward rolls me.
What was he trying to do?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing of the mom that lifts the car off the kid, and then they're like, this amazing feats of strength that humans are capable of. And they follow up like, yeah, she ruptured both her patellar tendons and like her shoulders are ripped out of her body. Like the next day she's in a body cast, Same thing with these guys. There's one video every 6 months because they're debilitated. Well, I guess we should talk about weight room equipment then, since we're talking about goofy stuff and enormous GHDs. Mm-hmm. So we've had one of our more entertaining functions with our department is that Kurt and I get to offer suggestions or endorsements for stuff that should go in our weight room. So people will come to the Foreign Fire Tax Board or to the department and say, we would like this piece of equipment. And then the department or Foreign Fire Tax says, go talk to the fitness people, Chris and Kurt, and see what they think. And if they like it or if they sign off on it, then we'll look at purchasing it. And through the years, we've said yes to some stuff and we've said no to a bunch of stuff. So I want to run through kind of some of the things that we think are good to have in a fire department weight room and some things we've said no to, and kind of why we said no to them. Because we don't just say no flippantly. Sometimes it's a cost thing, sometimes it's a space thing, and sometimes it really is just the thing that people want is just a bad option. And not to say that we can't make it work, but if our department is 140 people, we can make it work for probably a quarter of them. And then the other 3/4 will either just not use it or they're at a supreme injury risk from using it incorrectly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what comes to mind first when we're talking about stuff that's come up that we've said no to? What comes to your mind first?
I think the Jacob's ladder was the one that I remember being a resounding no.
Yeah.
For us too, we always have to look at things too as like a footprint thing. It's like we have excellent weight room equipment currently, but we're out of space in most of the stations in terms of expanding anything. And we like to, when we order something or add something to the weight room, we like to do it across all 7 stations, not just, station 1 gets this, because then invariably someone at station 3 is like, hey, when are we going to get one of these? And so we kind of look at it as like, first of all, can this even fit in the rooms that we have, or will we have to get rid of something, or what's the deal with it? And then for me, I kind of look at like, is there a use for a variety of workout skill levels? So can the most novice person use this and get a benefit of it, all the way through the most expert person, should they want to use it, can they get a benefit out of it? And if it looks like it's going to be a very singular thing that one person wants because it's something that their chiropractor said would be cool, like it's probably going to be a no. But if it's something that we think that would be beneficial for everybody to use, then, and safe for everybody to use, then most of the times we'll say yeah. And on the other side, we haven't, as much as both of us love them, we haven't supplied the workout rooms with kettlebells yet, because it's such a cool piece of equipment and great piece of equipment. But I also know that somebody's going to walk over there and see a 70-pound kettlebell and pick it up, and that's going to be a problem, if they've never swung a kettlebell before. And so until we get the opportunity to in-service some of the stuff, we oftentimes will hold back on some of the stuff that might take a little bit more coaching application / education to in-service.
Yeah, Jacob's ladder one was, I remember, both a cost thing and a footprint thing. I think the biggest thing we have in the stations now is probably the step mill.
Yeah.
But even that is tall, so it's made for a 9-foot ceiling or 10-foot ceiling, right? Mm-hmm. And the footprint's small, but it's an enormous piece of equipment. Probably half the cost of a Jacob's ladder, but that was just, I don't know if any of the stations have enough room for that, or enough people that would actually use it after the first attempt, and they get blown out by it, and they're like, well, I'm never getting on that thing again.
Right.
I think I go to the Precor stretching machines first. Those were snuck in. So if you're familiar with it, it looks like a kneeling thing, and then you hold on to the handlebars in front of you, and then
like you'd set up in like a pre-chair curl type thing.
Yeah, it looks like one of those forced posture chairs.
Yeah,
like where you have your shins on the rest, and then you can sit your butt on the thing, and all your shin and your femur is like a 45-degree angle from each other, kind of, or I guess a 90-degree angle. And then, that's on a pivot. So the chair part's on a hinge. And then you can hold on to handlebars and then hinge back and shift your butt back and stretch out supposedly your hips and your hamstrings. But what it falls into is a back stretch.
Yeah.
And specifically a lower back stretch. And that's something you kind of brought up, your chiropractor thing. That's someone brought in and said, hey, I use this at my gym and I really like it. We should buy 7 of them. And I remember at that point, we weren't quite established yet as
No, this is where our current rules of running things by us stem from.
So we bought them. So the Foreign Fire Tax Board bought them. And then we were stuck with 7 of them. And it took years and years of Kurt and I appealing to people like, listen, I know it feels good to stretch your lower back, but your lower back is a victim of your other joints. So please remove these from the station. But at that point, we're 7 units into a $600 stretching machine. Nobody wants to get rid of them. I even went so far as to see if we could turn them in. And the guy's like, want like $100 for all 7 of them.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. And then you're stuck of like, well, if your department allows you to sell stuff on Craigslist or Marketplace, that's one avenue. But for a bigger department like that, like ours, it's often not possible. So those stretching machines are probably number 1 on my hit list of stuff that had we had the opportunity to, I would not have in the station, just because we know how lower backs work. And we know that you have more benefit of stretching your hips and your butt and your hamstrings out. That will benefit your back more than stretching your lower back, even though it feels good. But by default, if you get on that thing, even if you're looking at the guide on there that says how to stretch your hips out, you're just going to sink back into a lower back stretch. And then we're not solving anything. We're actually potentially making problems worse.
It'd be nice if we still, do you remember the city auction?
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we still had that. It would have been an easy way to unload those things.
It would have been very easy. Yeah. A bunch of our guys would have bought them.
Yeah.
We used them at their gym. They would have been out of here. Recently, we just had someone ask for a reverse hyper. Mm-hmm. And I said I would not be in favor of that. And they brought up the standard, which is Louis Simmons and Westside Barbell. So I brought up that those guys, in fact, are the standard, but not just because of the reverse hyper. They were big, oafy-looking, very strong guys. But if you look at them, they had far greater hip and knee and ankle mobility than general population has. Like, yeah, they were very destructive in the way they trained time to time because of their intensity, but overall, they were far more mobile than general population is. And if we take that and look at, basically, we're looking at pro sports at that point, right? And then saying, why can't you catch a ball like a pro receiver?
Right.
And we take that tool and put it in the general population fire department. We're going to take people with very poor hip mobility and probably compromised lower backs, and then give them a tool that can very easily pick on their lower back. And just lining yourself up 2 inches wrong on that thing can change it completely. So I said, yeah, that's a great tool for you to use because you're comfortable with it. And if we had one-on-one coaching, it'd be a more viable option. But to just give a training day on it and then hope that, at 4 p.m. when somebody's not paying attention, they jump on this thing and pendulum it correctly is just not a smart thing to do.
Yeah, and it's like, those West Side guys, not only are they addressing those mobility issues that most of us have, but they're also, they're professionals. They know what they're doing, and it's like, this isn't like, oh, I think I'll jump on this thing. It's like they've learned and been coached how to do it right, Well,
and they've adapted. They've followed that adaptation principle where like, I don't know how often they would do it, but they've done it enough times to where a lower back pump isn't a significant issue for them anymore, right? As opposed to us, if we get a lower back pump and then go on a call and now you're fatigued in that area and it's the first time you've ever done this thing and now you go to lift someone, significant issue. So kind of apples and oranges, what they use it for and what we would be able to use it for. Great tool with context, but I think a poor tool for fire departments to have in their gym. We've had other ones too, like the vibration plates came through.
Yeah.
Just wasn't enough kind of stuff behind it for that much cost on at the time.
And Bosu balls have come through.
They've come through. It's just another kind of, I don't say gimmicky, but very popular and very commercial and recognized thing that people just figure they should have a use for.
Well, that's the thing is like somebody here is going to Google, what do I do with this Bosu ball? And they're going to see somebody with it flipped over squatting on it. And it's like, that's what's going to come up on YouTube. The first 10 hits, and it's like, not what it's for,
Yeah.
Plus, that guy is just insane, David Weck. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I do, yeah.
So
I was thinking Joel Seaman.
He's the Bosu ball guy.
Yeah. him and his eggs
quarters in his hands.
I only watch those when you and Raph send
Guy
him
is
over.
insane. I don't know how people go to that guy and we're like, that's my guy, you know?
Wasn't he doing some kind of slow motion fight, like punching thing? And Raph was like, hey, this is a good way to get your head taken off.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
He's like, you have to twist.
Yeah.
When you're like, it's all about rotational. And he's like dancing to it. And Raph's like, oh, good. One more victim for us. What about stuff we said yes to? Or we have a handful of things coming through now that we've taken requests for and then given probably better alternatives for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so those two, I know someone asked for the safety squat bar, which I love, but it's one use, you know? And so, and they were looking at that because they wanted an alternative for back squats. And so we came to the conclusion that a landmine would be a better option because they could squat heavy still, but there's still maybe more features that a landmine can do versus a safety squat bar.
Yeah.
So that was one. And then we were looking at getting hex bars, just for the guys who are deadlifting to have a safer option to do that with. I know we added TRXs. We added Dynamax med balls. I'm trying to think what else we added. I mean, foam rollers weren't in the original build out.
Right. You got more bands in there now.
Bands.
Got thicker and thinner, long loop bands.
Yeah. I mean, Joe did a really good job with the outfit in the beginning, though. I mean,
yeah.
With the dumbbells that we have, and we have a full cage and cable machine, we were pretty decked out in the beginning, and so there hasn't been a ton that's needed to be added. Trying to think, rowers have been added; those weren't in the original build out.
And by the way, if you're going to get a rower, get the air powered rower, not the water rower.
Correct. I am interested. So there's a company up here that does. I think it's Matrix actually. They do a magnet one that's supposed to be really good, and up there on Davis Road, they have a demo of it that I'd like to.
So I think I saw that when I went to go try to sell the stretching machines, and I actually told them one of the only reasons I didn't like it was because the Concept 2 uses a chain, right, and other ones use like a strap, like a piece of webbing. Almost.
Strap, yeah.
This uses like a shoelace, thickness cord, so like a 1/4 inch maybe, rope. And I was like, man, that does not look like an idiot can walk up and pinch it in the pulley a few times and then be okay with it. You know, I'm like, I got to look at it from a 5-year-old using this thing, who's going to use it incorrectly and fray this rope. Yeah. And then they're going to fly off the back of this thing. And he's like, I've never really had anybody concerned about that before. I'm like, we've broken more durable things.
Give us one to try out for 6 months and we'll come back with all the problems with it.
Which is absurd because listen, it's not like you go through a new dishwasher every 6 months at your house, right? And do laundry a few times a week, maybe not twice a day. Yep. But it's not like you're running through washing machines and drying machines at home. Like, can we just drop this Neanderthal fireman thing? Like, we have to destroy everything.
I can't remember what is wrong with the rower at Station 5, but I know there's a screw on it that holds something that within like the first 5 months, I saw it laying on the ground and I'm like, what is this? And I went to put it back in and you could see that somebody tried to like force it in, so now it doesn't seat into the female portion of it anymore, and so it was like brand new. I'm like, come on,
meddling. Back to the safety squat bar. That was also, I think that person also 101. First of all, they have trouble getting into a back squat position and even a front squat position. It's even more challenging because of their shoulders. When I got my safety squat bar, I had the same thoughts that this guy did. Because he came to us and said, I need an easier alternative to back squatting, right? And then I got my safety squat bar and started loading it up as I would a straight bar back squat. And I was dying at like 3/4 of the weight of a typical back squat. Yeah. It's not any easier. It's far more difficult because you don't have the locked in position. Right. And then watching some videos, like elite FTS videos, your tendency is to, when you come up, is to push up on the handles because you're trying to drive the weight off you, which is the opposite of what you should be doing. You should be kind of hugging them down and then flexing your lats and squeezing your armpits shut and stabilizing your back. And so it's one of those things where it looks easier because your hands are in a more neutral position and it visually looks like, oh, you're just squatting down. It's like an air squat, loaded air squat. Yeah. But in reality, that's a far more challenging piece of equipment than I ever expected it to be. So that's something where if somebody's like, yeah, I'll just buy this because it looks easy, and then you give it to that population, and now they're not forced to somehow flex their back or stabilize their back, 95 pounds can be destructive for an untrained person. So that was something we discovered. Also kind of looking at these things that people want. I think the biggest thing I'm excited about is the landmines to get in there. Yeah. I was just having a talk with someone the other day who was kind of questioning, like, why do we need to keep adding more stuff in these rooms? Like, we have so much stuff in here, you know? And I was saying, like, well, not only do we have an obligation as a department that if we have the ability to provide really good equipment, we should do that.
Right.
Because first of all, if someone's not working out and they go down there and start working out, I want them to have a good experience. So I want them to have good equipment. So maybe that takes away one barrier. Now they had a good time and they want to go back because it was easy because of the quality of equipment. Right. The second thing is we have injured people, and we have injured people working. We haven't injured people. We have people who have old injuries. And the landmine is one of those things where if you have a shoulder injury and you really like pressing overhead, now a barbell overhead press or even a single dumbbell overhead press may be just not viable. It might be too unstable or too difficult or too painful because of the range of motion. But now we can add this little landmine thing, and you can press overhead and pick how much joint load you have and the joint angle of it, and this kind of play with the strength curve in there, and you can press overhead again. So we're adding stuff in that may seem like we're just piling more stuff on that does the same thing, but everything has a better use. I mean, this is the same. If you took that same mentality and put it towards the fire equipment, we wouldn't have new thermal imaging cameras.
Right.
We wouldn't have RIT packs. We wouldn't have any number of things. We wouldn't have battery-powered hydraulic tools because you would look at it and go, how much more stuff do we need on here? You can open a car door with a pair of irons. Like, what do you need this tool for?
Right.
But we keep kind of growing and learning, and then you keep getting equipment that helps more people do the job.
That growing and learning is a big thing, too. Is like 15 years ago, landmines weren't, when we spec'd out all these gyms, landmines weren't a popular thing, you know? And I would be shocked. I mean, I'm sure they existed, but like the floor standing ones that we're looking at getting, I don't think we're near the quality that they are now, you know, and it just didn't exist 15 years ago, but now we've found something that's maybe better option than some of the equipment that we have. So we kind of owe it to the department to do that, you know, and get that stuff in there.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to necessarily replace anything. It can. But like you said, just having more available options for people to use, you know, that I think that's our obligation. It doesn't stop with just getting a pair of dumbbells and a treadmill, you know. Right. So anything else you want to hit on for equipment or things you'd like to see in the future? And I'm kind of pumped for that, the landmine and the trap bar. Yeah. I mean, just for the carrying capability. What do you think? We've had discussions on this in the past. What do you think about what do you think about bumper plates for fire department use?
So I think we've talked about this before. Is I like the shape of them because I think that you can deadlift and do other things a little bit more safely with them. I think unless you're going to commit to like a full Olympic lifting setup, like if you're going to use, you know, a regular beater bar or strength bar and not get Olympic lifting bars, then you're going to end up going through bars pretty quick with those. I don't know, you know. I just think that there's better options for the fire department, the average fire department person to substitute for doing a clean that they're just not necessary to have in there. You know, and even I've watched guys try and do some Olympic lifts with what we have, and it's like, it's not working that bar isn't working the way you need it to work. Yeah. And you aren't doing that very well, you know, and it's like, I mean, we know from coaching Olympic lifting, it's not something that you do once a week in your workout and you're like, yeah, you know, I'm getting better. I mean, that's, you know, get people practice 4 years at 2 lifts to be good at 2 lifts, you know, and it's like, there's other things that I think are better options. And so I think that getting bumper plates, not for a bumper plate use of Olympic lifting is a good idea, but to get them for Olympic lifting at the fire station, I don't think is a good idea.
Yeah. I think it falls into the category of like, because we've had damaged like 45s, you know, from obviously people dropping them or something like that. Right. And then that leads to damaged bars. So is it something where you try to regulate what people are doing without knowing their level of experience in it? Because you could look at one of us and be like, you're not allowed to clean,
right?
And I'd be like, thank you. Mm-hmm. Cool. I need an excuse not to do that difficult movement. Yep. Or you could just say, here's these plates that let you do all this other stuff that we have no control over. Mm-hmm. And at least you won't break our 45s or damage the floor.
Right.
So it's always been a difficult one. And I still don't know where I fall in it.
I would hate to start working at station 6 or 7 if we actually added bumper plates, though. I mean,
the second floor,
being on the second floor. Good Lord.
Maybe there's a condition to that. You only do it on slabs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, on the other side, there's been times just deadlifting in the garage where I've had just steel on, mm-hmm. and I've been like, I really wish I had some bumper plates on because this is getting heavy and I want to put this down quickly. Yeah. And I don't want to crack the garage floor, and that can happen even with 135 on. You know? So definitely a double-edged sword on that. It kind of goes against the protecting everyone from themselves category, but does go towards the protecting your investment in the floor in the barbell category.
And I guess I still go, maybe I'm just being wussy about it, but I don't think that at the station on shift you should be getting to a point where you can't control your deadlift down, where you need to drop the bar out of a safety issue. I know there'll be hard chargers that challenge me on that, but they probably are running a call a day. So,
well, here's a thought I had. I was trying to equate that coincidentally to something, and you've used the force in the door metaphor for like getting hired, right?
Yep.
I actually thought of it for your on-shift workouts of like, your on-shift workouts are that wooden wedge, not a metal wedge. You're not going to drive this wedge in, but you make all your progress realistically off shift. Like you're going to strike this thing and drive the door and shock and gap and set and force and all that stuff off shift. On shift is just sticking that wooden wedge to save your space. Yeah. And that can be a 10-minute workout or a 15-minute workout, but all it's there is a placeholder.
Right.
And then tomorrow when you're off shift, after you've had your full night of sleep from not running calls, then you can make some progress on forcing that door. Right. And when you come back to shift, you put the wooden wedge in, just do a little filler workout. So I agree. And I know we've had this conversation before too of like, we just don't want to give people one more reason not to work out.
Right.
So if we have somebody who's good at Olympic lifting and we know that they're good, it'd be a bummer if they came in and wanted to do it and we just didn't have the tools for them. That's also the minority.
The other side of that minority. Is if that person's good at Olympic lifting, they can probably figure something else out to do it work.
That's true. That's true. All right. Anything else to hit on with gym equipment? Pretty good one. All right. If you guys like what's going on, go to the website, hit the buy me a coffee button and donate some stuff so I can buy Kurt coffee. Check out the other episodes. We just wrapped up Spring for Change a few weeks ago, and then Kurt and I had the 2 free workouts one last week. Check those out, and we'll be back next week talking about footwear for working out, another hot topic. So talk to you guys soon. Be a force shifter.